Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I have not talked about this extensively, except bits and pieces here and there, but I want to talk about the cover-up that's happening, the revised history that Jake Tapper is trying to put out there in the ether, along with Axios's Alex Thompson. They've got this new book coming out, and I hope you don't go out and buy it because these guys are total fakes and these guys are total frauds. And what I mean by that is they did nothing to warn people, in my opinion, except when I think it became so obvious they were trying to hold on to any type of vestige of credibility that these people were in on it. They were in on the cover up of Joe Biden. So I've entitled this particular segment or section of the show, George Clooney, Jake Tapper, and the three Dems that Dems love to hate. And I'm going to get into the three Dems that Dems love to hate as well. And it's all a part of this cover up, and it's all a part of this Democrat Party that no longer has a mission. These people are about protest and political theater. They do not have policies that they can promulgate that will be effective for the American people. And right now they have done so much damage. I'm talking about the Democrat Party to their brand when it comes to the Biden cover up. And there's just news that broke earlier that there is going to be an investigation into the pardons of Joe Biden's family. Whether or not that'll go somewhere, I don't know, simply because this is unprecedented. We've never seen a president use such sweeping, broad power in order to basically pardon his family, a specific period of time, broad cases, if you will. We've just never seen anything like it. But I want to talk about this George Clooney, the fundraiser thing, what the left is doing with Fetterman, what they're doing with David Hogg, why they're trying to scapegoat Joe Biden. Guys, there's a lot of people out there, and even in the conservative circle, everybody's sitting here blaming Biden. He should have got out. Well, the fact of the matter is Kamala Harris was a horrible candidate. Frankly, I think he made the right decision to stay in. Given the fact that, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Kamala Harris was a bigger disaster than Joe Biden, and she proves to be that way even today. Now, he should have never been president in the first place, and that's where I want to go with this. This George Clooney at this fundraiser, Jake Tapper, and this guy Alex Thompson that are out with this book. Apparently, Alex Thompson may have more credibility, at least, than Jake Tapper, because he was asking questions during Biden's presidency, and the left was saying, "Shut up, be quiet, hush, hush." And basically he did just that. He fell in line. All right. And now Jake Tapper, we all know that Jake Tapper was basically calling people out for saying and recognizing and observing just common sense. When you look at Joe Biden, where the guy is shuffling and he can barely walk, where he's mumbling his words. Sometimes he goes low, everybody knew it. So what is the left up to? These people are trying to, and I don't even think they're worried about Republicans, frankly, because we all know it. Conservatives know it. Republicans know it. MAGA supporters know it. We know that these people are a bunch of lying gas bags. That's not who they're trying to make their case to. That's not why they're trying to revise history. They're trying to revise history for the independents, for their Democratic base, because they are losing their Democratic base. I'll talk about Hogg later. All right, they're losing their Democratic base. Their numbers aren't going up. Trump should be getting the Nobel Peace Prize for what we're witnessing occur this week in the Middle East, assuming that everything that he's done is going to come to fruition. But the fact that this man is trying to bring people together is absolutely phenomenal. But the left doesn't want to talk about that. Instead, they want to talk about the Qatari plane for $400 million where there's been no deal signed. There's been no purchase. There's Trump and his frustration saying, listen, we're America. We should have the biggest, baddest plane out there. And I understand some people out there may think, isn't that a little cocky? Isn't that a little, but frankly, I understand it. We are the United States of America. God has blessed us. And I don't think it's wrong necessarily to show that. Do I want the Qataris playing? I'm scared, frankly, if Trump is on that thing, they'll blow him up. But the media, but the media wants to make a big deal about it, because what they don't want to talk about are the policy accomplishments. But we'll get to that later. Let me circle back to, let's just have a review here. And I want to play some audio clips for you as well, some video clips for you as well. But first, let's talk about George Clooney and this fundraiser thing. And I know people have already talked about it to some degree, but I think the left is trying to throw Joe Biden under the bus. They want to blame him. Joe Biden was a dementia patient, and Joe Biden was a dementia patient, frankly, in 2019. We all saw it. We all knew it. Guys, I was on the air sitting in, I believe, for Larry Elder at the time, saying that there's no way that this guy, if he is the nominee, makes it through if he wins, makes it through the first year of his presidency. I think I went so far as to say there's no way he makes it through the first 6 months. They're going to pull a switcheroo on us. Now, apparently, they realized, the Biden administration did, and the people within the Biden administration, that Kamala Harris was such a disaster so quickly into office that was a no-go. I mean, she had over 90% of her staff that left, if I recall correctly, within the first year. Nobody liked her. Nobody got along with her. She's a horrible person. She didn't study up, which was completely obvious whenever she was on the trail speaking on political issues. But I blame the media for Joe Biden. Joe Biden's presidency was a major national security threat. We saw what happened in Afghanistan. We saw what happened when the Chinese spy balloons traversed across the United States of America. I mean, it's just absolute and utter nonsense. We've witnessed what happened at the borders. I'm not sure if Joe Biden, if he had if his mind wasn't mush, if he would have allowed the open border policy to the degree that he did. Perhaps if he was the old Joe Biden, perhaps he would have fought back and against the auto pen or whomever in his administration was telling him to allow a bunch of illegals to cross our border. But all of these people are complicit. The Democrat Party is complicit. They all knew. The mainstream media, lamestream media, whatever you want to call it, they're all complicit, including Jake Tapper. Let's go through some video here. Let's just a recount of what happened with the George Clooney thing. So I know you guys heard it, but you haven't heard it from me. So I'm going to go through this Axios piece that broke earlier. So the summary is, former President Biden had to be repeatedly reminded that the movie star he was speaking with at a June 2024 fundraiser was indeed his longtime friend, George Clooney, according to the book that Jake Tapper and Axios' Alex Thompson are writing. Now, Clooney and Biden had known each other for over 2 decades, according to Axios, or for nearly 2 decades before the California fundraiser. But Biden's diminished physical appearance was a holy S moment, quote unquote, according to for Clooney, according to Axios. He hadn't seen Biden since 2022, according to an excerpt of the book published Tuesday by the New Yorker. Now, let me go back to this date, because I noticed this date, and I noticed one other person said it on radio, so I got to give him credit. Eric Erickson, he caught it too. But I caught this date, 2022. The left is trying to say that everything was copacetic and things started to turn in 2022. What happened in 2022? Here's what happened in 2022. People like you and I with common sense, and we saw how disastrous the Joe Biden administration was, the presidency was. We thought we would run away. We thought there was going to be a red wave, right? We thought there was going to be a red wave. We got a red trickle. We got a lot of people that voted Republican, frankly, but kind of weirdly in like the wrong places. So we didn't get the red wave that we wanted or anticipated. So as a result of that, the Democrat Party said, "Phew, okay, what a relief. Joe Biden could keep rolling," all along knowing that this guy's presidency was being run by people on the inside, an inner circle, an auto pen, whomever this main chief of staff or aide was that presumably signed executive orders and stuff like that, legislation even for Joe Biden. All right, so for Clooney and many other Democratic supporters of the president, Biden's appearance was so jarring, it was a sign his physical and mental decline just before Biden's disaster. I'm getting that all jumbled up. Let me read this over from Axios. For Clooney and many other Democratic supporters of the president, Biden's appearance was a jarring sign of his physical and mental decline just before Biden's disastrous debate performance that would lead him to drop out of the race. Now, guys, I was sitting in for the Salem News Channel, at the time. And I remember sitting there with Andrew Wilkow, and we watched that debate. We were commenting, but between sessions and breaks and stuff like that. And we were both turning to each other like we can't believe what we're witnessing. This guy is losing the election tonight. I mean, it was so bad. It was so devastating. But what George Clooney wants you to believe that even though his appearance was physically jarring, George Clooney wants you to believe that he's a hero because he was willing to pen an op-ed only after the debate. What does that tell you? George Clooney knew this guy was a disaster at that California fundraiser, but he was willing to continue with the lie as long as Democrats won. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow, and MyPillow is excited to announce that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of MyPillow's most popular and newly released items. For example, save $40 on the new spring MyPillow bed sheets available in any size and any color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep. If you're looking for a meaningful gift, you can save 30% on the brand new Mike crosses that are inspired by the one that Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. These beautifully crafted crosses come in both men's and women's designs, and they're proudly made in the USA. You can get the 6-piece bath or kitchen towel sets for just $39.98, and initial quantities are limited, so please don't wait. And don't forget, the best-selling standard MyPillow is still just a low $17.98. Orders of $75 ship for absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists, or call 800-858-0263. 800-858-0263 is the number to call. All right, so what we're witnessing before our very eyes is a cover up in live time. The left wants you to completely forget about what they did and who they used to try to destroy your life, and that's Joseph R. Biden. And guys, I got to be honest with you. Unlike many conservatives, I don't listen. There's no doubt that Joe Biden is an egomaniac. There's no doubt that he was a jerk. There's no doubt that he was hungry for power. There's no doubt that there were times in the White House where the man was lucid, perhaps more times in the first couple of years. I doubt very many times in the last couple of years of his administration. But everybody around Joe Biden were hungry for power, paychecks, and position. Everyone knew that the guy was senile. Everyone knew it. Jill Biden knew it. The media knew it. You have to be a toddler to look at Joe Biden and not realize something is wrong with him. Just basic human curiosity. It's insane. And George Clooney trying to pretend like he's a hero of the left. He was the one that was willing to call out Joe Biden. No, he wasn't. He went to that California fundraiser. He saw how jarring it was to see Joe Biden, and he said absolutely nothing. Why didn't he say anything? Because he thought, just like every other Democrat fundraiser and elite and leader in the Democrat Party, that Joe Biden, as bad as he was a better option than Kamala Harris. It wasn't until that disastrous debate in June where the Democrats' hands were forced and they knew they had to make a change regardless. That is who George Clooney is, a complete and utter liar. And the same is true for Jake Tapper. The media is involved in a cover-up right now. In this book, they say in the book quotes, hey, George, one of Biden's aides asked Joe Biden, George? George Clooney, the aide, had to clarify after it was obvious that Biden didn't realize who George was. And then Biden said, oh, yeah. Hi, George. Obviously, the guy was clueless. And then it says in Axios, they report Clooney was shaken to the core at that point. The president hadn't recognized him and made him and the man he had known for years According to Axios, Clooney had expressed concern about Biden's health before. A White House aide had told him a few months before that they were working on getting the president to take longer steps when he walked. So this gives up the ghost. Clooney knew it beforehand. But a White House aide said they were working on getting the president to take longer steps when he walked. But obviously, the problem went far beyond his gait. All right. This was much graver. This is what Tapper and Thompson reported, adding that others at the fundraiser described Biden as slow and almost catatonic. It was, to some of them, terrifying. Guys, even some press members were at that fundraiser, right? There were cameras there, or at least cell phones with cameras. We all saw Obama walking them out. It's just absolutely insane. They go on, the book is, I don't even want to give the name on the book, but it's based on interviews. It's Jake Tapper's and this guy Alex Thompson's book. Actually, Alex Thompson, and Jake Tapper just put his name on it so he could make some money. But they interviewed more than 200 people, mostly Democratic insiders. Pay attention to those words, Democratic insiders with knowledge of the events that unfolded during the final 2 years of Biden's presidency. So you had insiders. And again, here they are going back to the final 2 years of Biden's presidency because they want to believe as though we all didn't recognize going back even when Biden was campaigning that there was something seriously wrong with the guy. Almost all of the interviews that took place after the 2024 election. So you have 200 Democratic insiders that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson interview, and they're not willing to spill the beans until after the election, which tells you they were all complicit. They all knew. They're trying to pretend as if they didn't know. Don't let these people gaslight you. And understand that going forward, this is what these people will continue to do. They have lost the left and the media, and they're frankly, they're one and the same. They have lost all credibility as far as I'm concerned. Clooney's op-ed after Biden's shocking appearance during his debate against Trump later in June was a major moment in the president's exit, they say, from the 2024 presidential race just weeks later. This is what Clooney said in the column, quote, "It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010, quote unquote." Again, we go back to the fundraiser. Why didn't he write this column immediately following the fundraiser? And then you have to wonder, now I'm thinking, Joe Biden didn't need to do that debate on June 7th. Did someone push him to do it? Bottom line, according to Axios, it was like watching someone who was not alive. A Hollywood VIP told Tapper and Thompson about Biden's appearance at the fundraiser. It was startling, and we all looked at each other. It was so awful. Hearkening back to the fundraiser, and none of them said a thing. None of them said a thing. These people are a bunch of fakes and frauds. And again, you couldn't trust them then. Look at what they were willing to do. They were willing to lie to you. They were willing to lie to you for 4 years, telling you that guy was sharp as a tack, telling you that you should not believe your own eyes. This is CNN. Democrats are asking, how could we have possibly known about Biden's cognitive impairment? This is insane. But let's go to cut number 37. Please, Gabe, because this is important to hear. These people are trying to escape this because they want to gain credibility as they try to attack Trump, as they try to attack Republicans, as they try to win back. Because remember, these people are part of the DNC as they try to win back the House and or the Senate in 2026. Cut number 37, please, Gabe.
And so far, we are still waiting for anyone to point out where Joe Biden had to make a professional decision or a presidential address where he was unable to do his job because of mental decline.
The Hur report, he had to testify. Robert Hur wrote in a report, I can't even charge this man because if I put him in front of a jury, they're going to say, oh, this is just a confused old man. We could never get a conviction. We had official government evidence that he was in cognitive decline. And what did the White House do? They smeared Robert Hur. They smeared him.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with
do you not feel lied to? Do you guys, the Democrats who ran your party, who ran the White House, the people who lied to you as a journalist, Do you not feel any sense of outrage about Kareem or anybody else in the line?
We don't know what's going to be in the book, by the way. So
why, Basil, is a comment about diminished faculties in here?
I have no idea why the need to put that in there, unless somebody's foot was on the gas or finger on the scale, whatever. I'm mixing metaphors, but you understand my point. That I have no idea why you would want to put that in the document. But at this point,
it's a warning.
It's not. Well, but why put the warning?
But why put the warning in there? It is. I mean, did it strike you as odd? I mean, it kind of seems completely beyond the scope of the conversation, which is whether he willfully.
No, I don't know if it's odd, because the White House pushback was, the day he did his interview, it was the day after the Israel-Hamas war started. So are you telling me that the president's mental faculties are mostly diminished when he's dealing with a crisis?
That's not a good response. That's like saying he hadn't slept. I understand, but they shouldn't have had to do it.
Okay. All right. I mean, we're witnessing a cover-up, and one of the people that the left wants to throw under the bus is Joe Biden, but Joe Biden was the patient. I'm sorry. Joe Biden was the patient. I know there's some conservatives out there that will disagree with me. Again, there were times, and you've heard me on radio, there are times where I believe that Joe Biden was lucid. There are times where I believe that Joe Biden was making the decisions, until we found out about the auto pen and how there was nothing that he signed literally during his entire presidency, with the exception of the letter or the memorandum that said, I'm out. I'm dropping out. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing. So the three Democrats, and I'll get into the other two later, that the Democrats hate is Joe Biden. They hate David Hogg, and I can't stand David Hogg myself, and they can't stand Fetterman. And all of these guys offer a unique threat to the Democrat Party. But we can't allow them to get away with the cover-up. I've got more audio and video that I want to share with you. I don't know that we have enough time before we hit the next break here, but we'll be going to cut number 38 next, Gabe. Let me know if we have enough time to play it or not. If not, we'll wait on that. All right. Okay, but basically these people, again, they've lied to you. Right now they're trying to cover up their trails. They want you to believe them. They want you to believe that they are the fair journalists, that they don't just take innuendo, or they don't even believe what their eyes are seeing. They're not curious in that way. They're just professionals. They're professional journalists. Well, the truth of the matter is the mainstream media is absolutely dead. I remember Sean Hannity saying this. It was so long ago. It was absolutely insane. And he was absolutely right to say it, because they are an extension of the Democrat Party. And now they're doing everything they can to fight their way back. Look at the way that they're treating the way that they're treating President Trump right now. Nothing is being reported objectively, which tells you the only reason they're trying to gain any credibility is so that you'll believe them when they continue to bash Trump. But you shouldn't believe them. They lied to you about Biden. They lied to you when it came about the COVID lockdowns, Anthony Fauci, all this stuff. This is a totalitarian party, the Democrat Party is. These are a bunch of propagandists that we're watching on these mainstream networks, and it's got to stop. Hey guys, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Please don't forget to subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, please rate and review the podcast. We would certainly appreciate that. Salem Podcast Network, the Carl Jackson Show. .com is where you can go to find me. We're talking about the cover-up. You got Jake Tapper out there lying about his role. He was all complicit. He was complicit. They are all complicit. George Clooney trying to pretend like he's a hero of the left. Everybody and their mother knew that Joe Biden was cognitively impaired. The only people that looked at Joe Biden and didn't realize that he was cognitively impaired were people that were cognitively impaired. That is it. But I want to play you some more. And again, the people I've entitled this particular show, if you will, or part of the show, George Clooney, Jake Tapper, and three Dems that Dems hate. And one of the Democrats that are hated right now is Joe Biden. I mean, the knives are out against Joe Biden, and I understand why. Joe Biden is a liability. Joe Biden is a liability to the Democrat Party for a couple of reasons. Every time Joe Biden waltzes out with that gate, walks out into a camera, he reminds the voters of how disastrous and how horrible life was under his reign. He reminds voters about the lockdowns and everything that they suffer through, and the lie because now people see him and they realize, oh my goodness, this guy is in bad shape. And the media can't cover it up anymore. And so the Democrats can't stand him coming out because he serves as evidence to their cover up. It's astonishing to me. I want to go to video clip number 38. This is Hakeem Jeffries. They don't know how to get away from this, and we should not let them get away from this. This is such a huge story. I mean, at first I sat there. I get so frustrated with this stuff, and it seems so trivial. There's so much other news out there that I'd like to cover, the big deals that Trump is making in the Middle East and so on, et cetera, which I will. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. There should be a Nobel Peace Prize coming. I really, the more I read up on this stuff, the more I certainly believe that. But we know it's not going to happen because you have this type of media that's going to lie to you. Let's go to cut number 38. This is Hakeem Jeffries, the disastrous House Minority Leader. He's a train wreck. He doesn't know where to go with this topic of the cover up. Cut number 38, please, Gabe.
From the book, President Biden didn't even recognize George Clooney at a fundraiser that the movie star was actually hosting for him. Why should voters trust Democrats when it's clear so many in your party went to great lengths to keep Biden's condition hidden from the public?
I can't tell you what happened between George Clooney and President Biden. I wasn't at that event. What I can say is that we're not looking backward. We're going to continue to look forward because at this moment, we've got real problems that need to be addressed on behalf of the American people, including the Republican effort to snatch away health care, snatch away food assistance, and hurt veterans.
You interacted with President Biden during those days, those final days he was president of the United States. Did you sense there was a major deterioration?
Well, in the conversations that I was able to have on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus in those final days, we simply expressed our perspective as to what would be best for the party at that given moment in time. President Biden subsequently made the decision that he was going to pass the baton to Vice President Kamala Harris. Of course, that was a decision that we supported strongly.
Just very quickly, I want to ask you, Congressman Jeffries, you say we're not looking back, we're looking forward, but what happened in the past has to do with what's going to happen in the future and whether voters can trust Democrats. As you look back, you were in a leadership position when President Biden decided to run again. Should you have done more at that point to intervene?
It's a great question in terms of whether voters can trust Democrats or not. Every single high-profile special election that has taken place since President Trump was inaugurated, a special election victory in Iowa in January, a special election victory in New York in February, a special election victory in Pennsylvania in March, a special election victory in Wisconsin in the Supreme Court race in April, and yesterday, decisively defeating a Republican incumbent in Omaha in a
we can cut it. I mean, you get the point. The follow-ups aren't even tough. And if I were Hakeem Jeffries, but of course he's not going to do it because they're all in this together. I think I would have circled back, asked her the very same question. What are you doing? I mean, you knew. You're a reporter. You mean you're not curious? Of course they're not, because they're all in this together. They're all in this together. Here's a clip that's gone viral. This is another one from CNN. Casey Hunt, apparently with Chuck U. Schumer. Let's go to cut number 39.
I really do want to ask you about something that has been breaking out of CNN. Our Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have written a book called Original Sin, and they call it a cover-up of Biden's health and his cognition and his fitness, quite frankly, to be president of the United States. You sat next to Biden in the Oval Office February 27th, 2024, just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan. You and Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I understand you later denied that that ever happened. But I am curious, I'm interested to know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole
Right,
federal
you're
government
facing all
at
of this
risk.
because you lost a presidential election. And
Well,
is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time today. We'll see you soon, I hope. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. So one of the questions that she asked, I mean, or statements that she mentioned, is this Joe Biden's fault for refusing to not move on? Well, Casey Hunt, if you would have asked the tough questions before November, going back as far as 2020, maybe after the Afghanistan debacle, then Joe Biden wouldn't have stayed in the race for so long. You guys probably could have pressured him or pressured Kamala Harris and the staff to go ahead and implement or impose the 25th Amendment, because everybody knew that Joe Biden was out of his mind. Now, but that's more proof that they hate Joe Biden. They want to throw Joe Biden under the bus. He should have got out. He should have got out. We're the reason why. No. The Democrat Party is so confused. All right, listen to this. Hat tip, Fox News. Democrat committee panel voiced David Hogg's election as party vice chair. So the DNC voted to void its election of David Hogg as vice chair for the Democratic Party on this past Monday. The initial vote comes after mounting internal criticism of Hogg through party officials that say the vote was based on procedural challenge made in February, claiming Hogg and another official were improperly elected because they didn't. Apparently, there were two. I think it was two black chicks that were running and some type of way that they count the votes. They weren't counted properly. So they're claiming that's the reason. I think they just want to get rid of Hogg. Here's what David Hogg had to say. And he was a disaster in my opinion. But there were times where he said things that were accurate about the Democrat Party. They looked at, he talked about Joe Biden's condition, and young people were getting tired of being lied to and telling them and tired of hearing that they were doing okay when the economy stunk. But he says, quote, "Today, the DNC took its first steps to remove me from my position as vice chair at large. While this vote was based on how the DNC conducted its officers' election, which I had nothing to do with, it is also impossible to ignore the broader context of my work to reform the party, which I loomed large over this vote." He said, "I ran to be DNC vice chair to help make the Democratic Party better, not to defend an indefensible status quo that has caused voters in almost every Democratic group to move away from us." So this guy is trying to figure it out. The way in which he's going about it, in my opinion, is wrong. You also had State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta as DNC vice chair. That was also removed that position was voided. But eventually, these people will be voted out of those positions entirely. And I didn't leave enough time for this, but the smearing of John Fetterman, there was an excellent piece in Wall Street Journal this week. And basically, you had Fetterman's former chief of staff that stabbed him in the back, a guy by the name of Adam Jenelson, who literally sent an email to the medical director of the Traumatic Brain Injury and Neuropsychiatry Unit at Walter Reed Hospital in May of 2024. And again, gentleman was the chief of staff for Fetterman. When Fetterman was released from the facility in May 2023, following a 6-week stint, you guys may remember, while he was running in 2022, he had a stroke. And now Jenelson wrote, according to a report in the New York Magazine, he was once proud of Fetterman, his boss, for getting the help he needed. But now he thinks the guy is crazy. And he literally wrote a letter, 1,600-word email to Fetterman's doctor, saying the senator was suffering from conspiratorial thinking and megalomania, to Fetterman's doctor. And he quit. And why did he quit? I'll tell you why he quit. It's because Fetterman turned into a moderate. In October 2023, he literally repudiated demands that Israel desist from responding military to the largest mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. And then there were further symptoms as well. I'll have to get into this a little later. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Guys, don't grow weary, doing good.